multiplication using the grid method. Before watching this video, it will be useful if you've watched our multiply numbers by multiples of 10 and 100 video, first of all. This video is stage 2 in our learning how to do written multiplication. Remember, the better you know your times tables, the easier this will be. Okay, let's say we wanted to multiply 6 by 42, so 6 multiplied by 42. This is definitely too tricky to do in our head, so we want to have a written method that we can work it out with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to partition the larger number 42, and we're going to partition that into 40 and 2. We've got 4 tens and 2 units, 40 and 2. And then we're going to draw a grid to organise our calculations. Now, because I'm multiplying a 1-digit number by a 2-digit number, I've drawn myself a 1 by 2-digit grid. Okay, so what you're actually doing is you're doing a 3 by 2 grid, but this is where our multiplication sign goes. And then what we're going to do, we're going to write the 6 here, and we're multiplying that 6 by 40 and then by 2. What we've done is we've partitioned, remember, the 42. The reason we draw our grid is so that it can make our multiplication easier by partitioning. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the 6 and we're going to times the 6 by the 40, and then our answer is going to go in this box here. Now remember from our previous video, a good way to do 6 times 40 is to think to ourselves, well, I know what 6 times 4 is, that's 24, and then I'm going to do 24 times by 10 because it's actually 40, which is 240. So I've done the first part, now I need to do the 6 times by the 2, so 6 times 2 is 12, but I'm not finished there. I've now got to put my answer back together again. So I partitioned it originally, now I need to put 240 and 12 back together, and I end up with 252 by adding them. Let's try another question. This time we're going to calculate 35 times by 8. So the bigger number needs to be partitioned, so 35 can partition into 30 and 5. And now I need to draw my grid, so I can put my multiplication sign there, and then I can see that I've got my 30 and my 5, which have been partitioned, and I'm multiplying both of those by 8. So first of all I'm going to do the 8 multiplied by the 30, which is 240, and as before, remember we can do 8 times by 3, which is 24, and then times by 10. And then I've got my 8 times by 5, which is 40. Now because I partitioned, I need to add my answers together, so I've got 240 plus 40, which is 280. So I know that 35 times 8 is 280. Now it's your turn to practice some questions using the grid method. Remember to partition the tens in units, and here's a reminder of what your grid should look like. Good luck, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, how did you get on? Let's go through the answers. So 42 times 6 is 252. 56 times 7 is 392. 3 times 94 is 282, and 5 times 72 is 360. Well done. Now, what about if we needed to multiply a bigger number? Say, for example, 124 times 5. Now, we follow exactly the same process, but here we have a hundreds, tens and units number that needs to be partitioned. So we're going to be partitioning it into 3 parts. We've got 100, 20 and 4. So we're going to need to draw ourselves a slightly bigger grid. So this time our grid needs to have space for 3 parts along the top and then 1 part down the side. So let's fill it in. So we've got 124 we've partitioned into 100 and 20 and 4, and we're multiplying that by 5. So same as before, we'll just do it step by step. So we're going to multiply the 5 by 100, which is 500. Then the 5 by the 20, which is 100, and then the 5 by the 4, which is 20. And then remember we need to add those all up to give us our final answer. So we have 500 plus 100, which is 600, plus 20. So our final answer is 620. Your turn to try a question. So you're going to try 234 times by 6. Remember to draw your grid. You can pause the video and then we'll come back and check your answer. Okay, how did you get on? Hopefully your grid looked like this and your answers begin to look like this. Now, a little trickier with some slightly bigger answers. You must take care when you're adding these answers up at the end, and it's really useful, rather than trying to do it in your head, write yourself out a column addition so that you don't make a silly mistake. You don't want to do all the hard work here and then make a mistake on the adding. So we've got 4, 10, 1,404. A few more questions here for you to practice, this time with the hundreds, tens and units. Draw yourself a grid, pause the video, and we'll come back and check how you've got on. Okay, let's go through the answers. So 253 times by 8 gives us 2,024. 169 times by 3 gives us 507. 203 times by 7 is 1,421. And 811 times by 2 is 1,622. Well done.